everyone, InfiniteCaz here, and welcome to another video. Today, I'll be going through the rules and details about all the ranked modes in Splatoon 2. When you first pick up the game, jumping right into the variety of maps and modes can be daunting, and there are lots of details about these modes that seasoned players may not know. That's why today, I want to go fully through all the modes in the game and tell you everything there is to know. Whether you're a new player looking for a detailed guide on the game or a veteran, I hope this can teach you something about the rules of Splatoon 2. With that out of the way, please like and subscribe as it really helps me out, and let's get right into it. The only main game mode unlocked at the start is Turf War, and it's by far the easiest to understand, so I'll only briefly mention it. You and 3 teammates try to ink the largest percentage of the map in 3 minutes, as the name suggests. Each game is 3 minutes flat, and you get points that count to the overall score by inking the map. The ground specifically, mind you, as woes don't count. While kills are vital to some extent, going 20-0 is useless if you don't paint for the whole 3 minutes. Turf War isn't super competitive, but it's great to build your basic skills and chill out. But at the end of the day, it can only be so fun, and that's where all the ranked modes come in. The easiest ranked mode is SPLAT zones. This mode's objective is contained in either 1 or 2 zones, marked in the middle of the map. A zone has 3 states it can be in: capped in your favour, neutral, or capped in the enemy's favour. Most maps with 2 zones in them have them on either side of a central point, and the individual zones are smaller than single zone maps. The game's objective is to paint the zone or zones, which starts your timer. Each team starts the game with 100 points on the timer, and having the zones in your control reduces that. Your aim is to get your count to 0, which results in a KO, stopping the match early and resulting in an automatic win. However, your timer will stop if the zone is neutralised, meaning the zone was painted by your opponents to a certain extent. And if your opponents paint the vast majority of the zone, they will cap it, causing their timer to go down and yours to stop. You will also receive a penalty when they take control, which is a number of points you need to gain in order for your timer to start going down again. The longer you take control, the longer your penalty will be, and this gives the opponents time to turn the tides. Zones is the game mode that can be turned the easiest, as the objective stays stationary, so pushing into the zone is just as hard at 90 points and 5 points. Each point is slightly under a second, so the game could be over in just a minute if you cap the zone quickly and keep it that way. However, it's more than normal for the zone to flip-flop in between teams over the 5-minute match. And if the losing team has the zone in their control when the clock reaches 0, overtime will start, and last until the winning team takes it back or the losing team manages to scrape the lead. You can stop overtime if you keep the zone neutralised for a short period, so if you're alone, focus on that instead of getting a cap. When playing the mode, I would try not to rush in, but make sure you have a lot of paint if you intend to push the enemy team back. Try to pick off any overly aggressive opponents before trying to paint the zone, as that's where your opponents will be focusing most. Any weapon can fare well in zones to some extent, but some are more focused on kills than paint. While kills are crucial, your first priority is to keep the zone painted. If you can help with the objective or get a pick, help the objective, especially if it's at a crucial point. So SPLAT zones is pretty simple in general, but it's definitely my favourite ranked mode. I enjoy the pace of the game, and how it still focuses on paint coverage while making it very competitive. The next mode in the game is known as Tower Control, and as the name suggests, the focus of this mode is a tower. When the game starts, the tower is in the middle of the map, and climbing onto it causes it to move down a set path. The further along the path it moves, the more points you score. Along the path there's between 2 and 3 checkpoints, which usually take about 10 points to break. Here the tower stays stationary, and you can see your progress in the top bar. When you break the checkpoint, you don't have to go through it again if you push the tower afterwards, which makes pushing much easier. If nobody is on the tower will gradually go back to mid, and if an opponent is on the tower, it will push up into your base. The further the tower is pushed, the easier it is to counter, and many maps have a choke point that is tough to get past but can secure the game if you break it. The more people on tower, the faster it will move. So if you get a wipe, it's possible to push it past a checkpoint before they have a chance to respawn and fight back. If you hit a checkpoint, you need to wait for the whole time it takes before breaking it, even if you have pushed it to some extent before. Pushing past checkpoints makes you a bigger target, so it's important to stay coordinated and ensure that the person riding the tower is safe. If you get overwhelmed, instead of jumping out, try and break the checkpoint in any way you can, as it could win you the game in a future push. Each map has a unique tower path, and it's important to know where the enemy team will be pushing from. The pace you gain points is similar to zones, but as the objective moves, it gets increasingly difficult to push back. As well, because the tower does not need to be painted, you don't have to focus on the objective if other people are doing it, although map control is still important, so if you can paint, it's best to do that. The third ranked mode in the game is Rainmaker, and is very fast paced and hectic. When the game starts, the Rainmaker is in the middle of the map, with a shield around it. Paint the shield to pop the Rainmaker, which would then explode in your colour, causing lethal damage to any opponents in its blast radius. One teammate can then pick up the Rainmaker, which replaces their main, sub and special weapons. When carrying the Rainmaker, you have an attack that charges by holding down ZR. This can then be used to clear places, and while it's slow, it can be very deadly if used right. It's lethal if you hit someone close enough to the centre, and it's great at spacing and getting a possible trade to an aggressive opponent. You hold down ZR to charge it, and once it's fully charged, the blast radius expands and it can get some picks if used right. You can also arc shots to shoot above you and behind walls, making it very unique compared to other base weapons. To score points, you need to swim towards the enemy pedestal, a little structure you get near your spawn exclusive to this mode. The nearer you get, naturally, the more points you score for your team. You get a knockout by dunking the Rainmaker on the pedestal itself, but if that doesn't happen, the team with the most points ultimately wins the match. When you pick the Rainmaker up, a timer starts, which counts down from 60. If you stand in a Rainmaker free zone or move backwards, the timer will count down much more rapidly, and when it reaches 0, you will explode, spraying a lethal spread over your opponent's ink in the process. This means that you have to commit to a push when picking up the Rainmaker, and discourages camping and stalling the Rainmaker near spawn. When you die with the Rainmaker, the barrier will reappear, and if you pop it and fail to pick it up, the Rainmaker will reset back to mid. Likewise, if you fall off the map or let the Rainmaker tick down to 0 on your side while holding it, it will reset to mid. However, if this happens on the opposite side of the map, it will spawn near where you died, which is done to make pushes as fair as possible. Playing Rainmaker encourages you to adapt to the specific match, as depending on how many opponents are down, you can push the objective differently, and getting past the main choke point of the map is often a game decider. If you're losing and pick up the Rainmaker just before overtime, the game will continue, and stops either when you have lost the Rainmaker or managed to clutch the lead. So last but not least we have CLAM BLITZ, the only game mode that was added in Splatoon 2, and it seems to be the least understood, especially for newcomers. When you start the game, there are clams laid out on the ground, and you pick them up by moving over them. Once you pick them up, they will follow behind you, and these clams will be added to your team's counter, which can be seen at the top of the screen. Collect 10 clams and they will morph together into a power clam, which you need to score points initially. Each team has a basket, which is usually positioned past the choke point, but is easily accessible with a coordinated push. To score your initial points, you need to throw your power clam with A at your opponent's basket, causing it to break open. This gives you 20 points, as every power clam does. If you have regular clams in your possession, throwing them at an open basket grants you 3 points each. But remember, you need a power clam to open it initially in each push. When the basket opens, a timer starts, which will be topped up with clams. A power clam fills the timer, while regular clams add a much smaller fraction, but can still be used to store the basket and make way for an even bigger push. Once the basket closes up, there will be a penalty, which is half of the clams that you scored. You must score the equivalent of this penalty to make your points count again on the main scoreboard. For example, if you score a single power clam, your score will be 80 with a 10-point penalty. If you push and only get a power clam in, your score will go down from 80 to 70 due to this penalty. There is also an interval after a push where the basket will be up, so you can't score again right after making a huge push. This also applies when a basket is open. When you score, your basket will rise up, meaning that your opponents can't score while you are pushing. However, as soon as their basket closes, yours becomes vulnerable, so being aware of this when pushing in is vital. Throughout the game, clams will spawn in groups of 4, depending on how many clams are on the map. If you die with clams, you will also drop them, and the same is true for a power clam. Drop clams despawn after a short period of time, so you'll often see opponents guarding a drop power clam to shut down one of your pushes. Overtiming in this mode can happen because neither team has scored or the losing team has a power clam in their possession. Overtime lasts 20 seconds if the losing team hasn't scored, but can be stopped when either you score or their power clam despawns. You can also super jump with a power clam and throw it right after you land, but be warned, as jumping back to spawn with clams will destroy them. You can also throw your clams to teammates, and coordination like this to generate a power clam is vital in competitive matches. Last but not least, while knockouts are rarely seen in this mode, to get that sweet KO, simply knock your opponent's score down to 0, which can rely on RNG when it comes to clam spawning, and it's rare that you get a knockout in a single push, especially on certain maps where the basket is in an awkward position, an example being Gobi Arena. So I think that's it, and I hope you enjoyed. Did you learn anything with this vid? If I managed to teach you something, be sure to let me know down in the comments. Splatoon's game modes are unique, and part of the reason why I love this game so much. But it's no secret that ranked can be very daunting at first. With that out of the way, please like and subscribe as it really helps me out. We're on the journey to 1,000 subs and I would love to have you here. And with that out of the way, I will see you all next time. Bye!